Hey, thanks for tuning in to the Acting Career Experts Studio. My name is Dan Warner. Today we're going to be talking about comedy versus drama. And when I say that, what I mean is the subtleties of acting in both. I got this question from Sharon Spear. She's one of my subscribers, and she wanted to know the difference between acting in comedy and the acting in drama. And so we're going to take the mystery out of it, as it were, and talk a little bit about the differences in both of those things. And then, of course, we're going to play at the end Who Said That, where I give a quote from a film, and you have to guess in the comments section down below who said it, the name of the character and the name of the actor who played the character and the film itself. You got to tell me what the name of the film was, who said it, character's name. Super fun. This one's a little harder than last week, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. And yeah, it should be interesting to see who can tell me who said that. So let's dive right into the comedy versus the drama. So, you know, I could sum it up. Well, no, that's not true. I was going to say I could sum it up in one word, and that word is timing. I will tell you that in acting in drama, there's obviously timing that occurs that you really need to pay attention to because of your character and, you know, your backstory and the moment before and how dramatic the scene is. But in comedy, timing is also quite vital, and subtlety is really kind of golden when it comes to comedy. You know, a little glance and a pause before you say something makes things much, much funnier sometimes. And, you know, so the subtlety and the timing, and it takes practice. And by practice, I mean you should watch comedies and you should watch the timing and you should watch your favorite comedies. And, you know, a lot of the sitcoms now are crap. They're not very good. You know, I'm just going to be honest with you as far as my personal feelings about comedy. My background is in stand-up comedy, and so I'm a little more critical about the comedies that come out these days. But if you watch good stand-up comedians or you watch a really great sitcom, you know, the subtlety, you know, Everybody Loves Raymond was a great sitcom. If you watched these pros, and the whole cast was just excellent, you know, their subtle looks, their timing when they said something. You also have to pay attention if it's a sitcom. You know, there's going to be a 3 or 4 camera setup and possibly a studio audience. And so you also have to make sure that you are pausing for the laugh. And so during the table read, which I'm actually going to do a whole video on table reads here coming up soon, but during the table read, you'll know where the jokes are. And so, and you'll know to wait because you can't just plow through your dialogue if you said a funny line and the audience behind you is laughing, or in front of you, as it were, is laughing, because you'll step on your joke and you'll squash the next line and all of that. It's an art form, really. And so to watch a lot of sitcoms and to watch, not a lot, watch different sitcoms, watch good ones. Seinfeld was good. Everybody Loves Raymond was good. Long time ago, All in the Family was fantastic. And you'll see these really subtle timing, the subtle timing where they look and then they deliver the line and then they wait for the laughter. Waiting for the laughter is imperative. But here's one thing, and that Sharon said, Sharon Spear, one of my subscribers, she wanted to know if during your audition or when you're in a scene, when you're in a comedy, is that where you can really let it go, where you can give it a little extra? And I say absolutely not. No. keeping it real in comedy is so terribly important. You have to let the writing do all the heavy lifting. You've got to let the writing do the work and trust that these jokes are going to land. And if you don't have the subtle timing and the subtle sort of glances and that pause and that certain thing, it's gonna fall flat. The one thing you don't want to do is try to make it fun. I keep doing this. That means elbowing it. That's another phrase that I should tell you about in another video. But yeah, you don't want to elbow it, which means give it a little extra, trying to make it funny. Because trying to make it funny, you go the opposite direction. If you're trying to make it funny, it's not going to be funny. If you're real, if you are keeping it real, letting all the writing do all the heavy lifting, it's going to be much funnier. You have to be grounded in your character and your choices. You have to be a real person in a real place having a real experience, because most things that are funny come from reality. And so trying to make them funny usually falls very flat. Here's a perfect example. So about 5 years ago, I worked with the great Jim Burrows, who was the writer and producer and directed a lot of the episodes of Cheers, long time ago, award-winning sitcom. That's another one you should watch. Cheers was fantastic for their writing, for their subtlety, for their timing. So I'm doing a pilot, and James Burrows is the director of this pilot. I did not know that, and I'm going to confess something to you here that, because I'm a kind of an open book when it comes to my acting, and if I did something wrong, I'm going to tell you. And the reason I tell you all these things is so you don't make the same mistake. So I was getting ready. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. Getting ready to go on this audition. Got an audition. I was busy doing something. This is no excuse. Busy doing something, so I didn't really read the breakdown. All I read was from my agent, the email, that I have an audition for a pilot, and here's the script. So I was like, oh, okay, and I read my lines, and then I drove to my audition. I didn't do prep in the sense that I didn't read the whole breakdown. I didn't read the character description. I didn't read what the show was about. It's a pilot. You should know what the show is about. You should know all those things. Didn't know what the show was about. Didn't know anything about it. All I knew was I was playing a racist. And so I looked at my dialogue and I thought, yeah, okay, I got this. And I was playing a racist being pulled over by a police officer. We were in America, Midwest somewhere, but the police officer happened to be Pakistani. And I was playing a racist. So my dialogue was something to the effect that he asked me for my license and registration. And I was like, give it to you? What does this country come to? That I got to give you my license and registration? Yeah, I don't think so, pal. So it was this very sort of, and I said a bunch of other derogatory things. Nothing too awful, but I was clearly a racist against Pakistanis or anybody from that region. And so I go into the audition and I give it, what I thought it deserved to be a racist. This was back in the day where sometimes you would go on your audition and then the casting director would say, hey, can you come back in an hour or in 2 hours for the callback that day? And that's what happened. So they really liked what I did. They said, hey, can you come back in an hour and a half? Sure. And then the casting director said, by the way, can you do it again just when you come back for the callback, can you do it just like you did just now? And I thought, I didn't say this to him, but I thought, well, of course I'm going to do it like I did it. I mean, that's how I wanted to do it. And it got the callback, so of course I'm going to do that. So I go back, hour and a half later, and the writer is there, the guy who wrote it, and one of the producers are there. And so I gave my read the same way, but I think I gave it a little bit extra in the racism department. And I was pissed off. I acted pissed off at this Pakistani cop, and I wasn't going to give him my license or registration. So I did my thing. They said, okay, great, thanks. I left. Well, at the time, I was dating this girl who was also an actress. And she always wanted to see my auditions, and so I'd always forward my my breakdown to her because she always wanted to read it, see what I was doing. So I come home. She says, "How'd your audition go?" And I said, "Oh, I don't know. I think it went pretty good. I had the call back, and then I went back and blah, blah, blah." And she goes, "Was it funny?" And I said, "What do you mean, was it funny?" She goes, "Was your audition funny? Like, was it like, did you have funny dialogue or any of that?" And I was like, "No, I was playing a racist." She goes, "But it was a funny scene, though." And I said, "Why would it be funny?" She goes, "You didn't read the breakdown, did you?" And I said, "No, I didn't." She goes, "It's a sitcom. You read for a sitcom." So I went in and read it as a drama because I'm playing a racist and I didn't bother to read what the pilot was about, the description, none of that. And I went at it like I was a real racist. Got the call back. The very next day they hired me. So there you go. There's your story of the week on keeping it real. And, if you're playing drama and it's a comedy, again, the writing will do all the work. I went to the table read 2 or 3 days later, and the writer came up to me before we started, and he said, "Hey," he goes, "by the way, really great job at the audition." I said, "Oh, thanks." He goes, I have just a little favor." And I go, "Dial it back a little?" He goes, "Yes, please, just dial it back a little bit." And so I did, and it worked out great. And Jim Burrows actually hired me again for an episode of Will and Grace about 6 or 8 months later. So, I've told these stories before where you go in and you do good work, and, you're going to get hired again and again and again for these things when a director finds you and likes what you do. So my character was grounded. It was based in reality, that I had conjured up. And so I gave it my all and booked a comedy when I read it as a drama. So that should tell you, that should answer that question completely. So listen, if you got anything out of this, hit the like button down there. If you've got any questions or comments about this, leave them in the questions and comments section below. If you've not subscribed yet, then, I'm going to limit my subscriptions. I threatened before. I'm going to do it. Nobody else can subscribe. That's not true. Everyone can subscribe anytime, all the time, forever. But subscribe, share, tell your friends, all that other stuff. Okay, so now we're going to get to Who Said That? This is one of my favorite films of all time, and you got to tell me who said it. Actor's name, character's name, and the name of the film. This was back in 1992, I believe. And here we go. The good news is you're fired. The bad news is all you've got is 1 week to regain your job, starting with tonight's sit. Oh, have I got your attention now? Good, because we're adding a little something to this week's sales contest. As you know, first prize is a Cadillac Eldorado. Anyone want to know second prize? Second prize, set of steak knives. Third prize is you're fired. Pretty good. I should be an actor. See you next week.